my friends. Tell you what, we're going to be talking about the baritone ukulele for this Music Monday. It's only going to last about 5 minutes, so we're going to talk about the key aspects of what you should do when you start playing any instrument. If you have an instrument that has one note at a time, meaning a mono note, or an instrument that plays polynotes like chords, something you can strum a chord with, you should try the same thing with each one of these concepts. Even if it's on a flute, saxophone, clarinet, the concept is still the same. If you know what the 7 notes in a scale are, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, whether it's in the Eastern or the Western world, we could hear that as being a 1 to 2 is a different, like sa to re, or a do to a pa or a D if we're talking about Indian music. And if we're talking about just capping out different types of structures and rhythms, we want to know how those notes go along. So we're going to stick with the Western world right now. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, we have a workshop coming up this Saturday. We're going to be talking about Indian music, how to count out a basic scale and to hear these different things and add a little bit vocabulary to our tool bag of understanding a little bit more music.
Dig that kind of thing, check out a couple different things online. We're doing a song called Maki Majani and just a meditation mantra called Om Vana Krishna Om Nama Maha. So, long story short, if you are in the area, stop by. Hang out with us. We're doing it from 4 to 7 on Saturday. Other than that, here we go. The thing I like to teach are these spider exercises where we put one finger down and then follow the other. I like to play pointy notes here, not flat notes in the beginning, but you can do both types. The concentration is, we're going to be counting these today, and some of the people ask me what this is for. The purpose of spider exercises, quite literally, is to get used to using your finger. Most people play the oud or some sort of instrument with their thumb, unless they have a pick. Most ukuleles have these plastic or polymer type strings in here. So what we want to do is we want to be able to not play them with a pick. You can play with a felt pick if you like. It doesn't really scratch up the surface. But if we use our thumb the whole time, we become dependent on it, which is amazing. But my concept that I would love you to see is try and utilize another finger. When we're using this for the spider exercise, we're moving up and down the fretboard, trying to get a little bit of mobility. What we're doing is we're actually doing some counting, so I'd like to tell us what that is right now. When we play the first note, we can say 1. The second note, we can say 2. Third note, we can say 3, and then the fourth note, we can say 4. I know it seems self-explanatory, but when we get to the second fret, instead of saying 1, 2, 3, 4 again, train your brain maybe to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. When playing complicated music that has just more than 1 or 2 measures, like a 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. When chords aren't just basic progressions, and you have more like multi-chordal.
When you're moving to different keys using modulations, sometimes when sight reading these things, you
Rhythm.
have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it'll change keys. So what is an interesting thing while sight reading, if a measure does not change the note, you could just say
E2,
4, D2, 3, 4, G2, 3, 4, F2, or C2, 3, 4. When doing this, you're counting out the name of this chord in your head, and you're counting out the measures. Now, granted, when you go through
these chords, you'll find that most music is repetition. Therefore, if you get one progression, you pretty much grab them all. You want to stay within this key. So this is on the baritone ukulele, meaning it is the top 4 strings of a guitar. So if you can play a G on an ukulele, then you assuredly can play a D on a baritone uke or a guitar. So when playing just this chord, let's just show the notes that are inside of D. So we've got a D, an E. We're going to be doing right here from this first fret, we're going to be taking it up a whole step and then moving this into the shape that you would see as being a C on a baritone or an F on a standard ukulele. When we do that, we switch from this major to a minor. Therefore, if we have a D right here and we scoot that up and turn that E major into an E minor, we get do, re, the first 2 notes of the major scale in D major. So we've got D, major, E minor. When we move this up another whole step, our finger's going to go to the 5th fret, 6th fret, and then we're going to go to the 7th fret on the corresponding E strings, G strings, and then B string. When we play that, we get an F sharp minor. Now bear in mind, on all of these major chords, you can also put your finger down here to cover it, because this note is going to be the same when we go up top. See that? This note right here, same as that note. So hypothetically, you can play a D major like this. You can play a D major like this. You can play a D major like that. You can play it like this. You can even play it like that. The concept is fingerings, once you get where the fingerings are, and then you can play it in a multitude of different ways. It helps you to move up the fretboard and play a minor second, minor third. Because the 4th and the 5th are major, they're that little triangle that looked exactly like the one. D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, and then when we go up next, we're going to go up a whole step again, but we're going to be keeping our finger right here next to it. We're going to be making the B minor. Now the B minor shape is the exact same as the E minor and the F sharp minor, past the G major, past the A major, and then play the B minor. When we get here, now the next chord is our super special chord. I think 2 different ways of trying to hear and understand this. In the beginning, it's good to know that the 5th of every chord, in the case of D, D, E, F sharp, G, A, becomes A7, which turns that A major, which we know as the big old bar with keeping our finger up here open. If you're on a standard ukulele, it's the D chord. On a baritone, it's the A. Same thing with guitar. If you're playing a 6th string and you're playing your A's like this, maybe try playing it with one finger. See how good you get at doing that with leaving that top E string open. Cool. When we have this, if we remove that middle note, which is the A flat or G sharp to a G, when we just have these 2 double bookends, our fingers right here, it should feel reminiscent of what looks like the D major. If we get rid of that D note, we have this. That's a D6. So if we take that horizontally, whoop, and put it right there, we're going to be able to capture that A7. I know that this note right here is an open string, and it's the same as my finger here. Gives me that high G note. So I play both of those, and I think it sounds super sweet. I hope you do too. So when we have our chords going through, I can quite literally go D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major. There's that A major. So we have 1, 3, 5. So the idea is if we have 1, 3, 5, if we move this to here, we get a 7th chord. Just like the D7 right here, we're just having the concept being shifted and moved. So this right here is our A7. So we use that as our diminished chord. I'll show you the other true type of diminished chord right now. Bar the whole 12th fret here, just the top 3 strings if you want, and then you're going to be playing the B string at the 14th. See how it definitively gives you that lemming leading tone? And then up at the 14th fret for the high D. Yay! D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp diminished, and then D again. So the 2 sharps in D are F sharp minor and C sharp diminished. We're not talking about chord theory though, we are talking about rhythm. When I was playing that, I would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. You want to look at this as a chord progression. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chord progression. Here's the 7, and we're going to go back to the 1. Now granted, if I would have held on then, I would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Now that's counting out with having just one more measure. So we count out the double on there. If we were doing multiple measures, it would be silly to start counting in multiples of like 5, 2, 3, 4. So here's the dig. You just count over And by doing that, you set a course in your brain. What I started to do in the beginning when I listened to like intricate, like long type filled music, there's a difference between playing the same groove over and over again and then playing a progression that has different parts inside that groove. Complicated jazz fusion and stuff like that will require you to kind of do that. And the bottom line is, you do a succession of things where you start to remember that. So with my students, what I do is, first time I meet them, I put their hands up here to see if they could just follow what I'm doing. Like I'll go like, and see if they could replicate that, which hand they use too. And if they take deep breaths, blink eyes, or move their body around, it tells a lot about how we're going to be learning and what.
So when we have our hands up, I'll do something like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, clap, clap, clap. And then
4 months later with the same student, I'll put my hands up and go, do the same thing that you and I learned how to do when we were playing music together the first time we met. And almost 99% of the kids that I teach, and adults alike, I don't do the whole stream because adults don't dig on it, but kids absolutely do, under 10 years old. Being able to go 1, 2, 3, 1, and then be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. When they remember that and be like, oh, the whole process of adding and layering happens. So when we learn, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, or 8. It's a perfect 8. It's an octave. The concept of having different quadrants for our instrument, this one being the baritone oud, but it's just like any other stringed instrument. When we move up in minor seconds, we then see that going up 12 of those brings us right back to the same note we had. Thusly, it starts the whole exploration over again. That 13th chord, or excuse me, fret, is the same as the 1. So when you learn a chord down here, like an E7 or a G sharp diminished on a ukulele, and then when you look at this, you could go, okay, baritone oud, same kind of concept, but the chords are a little different. So what we're going to be doing here in the next week or two, I'm going to put every chord there is on the baritone oud. If you don't already have a baritone oud and you want to join me in this process, go support your local music store. Groovy. And then at the same turn, if you're just beginning an instrument, go support local music instructors. Okie dokie. Thanks for joining in for another Music Monday. I see that there's somebody on here. Does anybody have a question about anything? I think I've got Chad on. Well, oh, goodbye. All right. Have a good Monday. Aloha.